Welcome to Marketing Brew Weekly, where we dig into what's surprising and delighting the marketing industry. I'm Jenny Mywin, reporter at Marketing Brew.
I'm Kelsey Sutton, editor.
And I'm Katie Hicks, senior reporter.
Today, we discuss the merits of brand weddings. If you've ever wondered why there's a whole Taco Bell Cantina chapel, this one's for you. Ready? Let's get hitched. Is getting more and more popular for weddings.
I did know that. I think I have a friend who's a florist, and October is her busiest month by far.
That's so crazy.
You're escaping the summer heat.
Yeah.
It's a good choice.
Little fall foliage, perhaps.
It is pretty gorgeous. It's just interesting to me because I feel like everyone thinks of like a June wedding as like traditional, but it's moving into October, and everyone getting married in October has to mean like prices have just got to be insane.
Oh yeah, and I don't think it's slowing down. Aren't you going to a wedding this weekend, Katie?
I am. I'm heading to New Orleans.
Oh, you're gonna have to tell us how it is. But I think the thing that's interesting is getting married in the most popular month. It's pricey, as you said, and that means that some couples are looking for ways to get the cost down, and that's where the brands come in. Think about a completely branded wedding. Imagine brand colors, a brand mascot, perhaps, brand food and beverages, maybe clothing. This is not just a cost saver for couples, but I think it's becoming a big brand opportunity for certain brands who are trying to build positive sentiment and really try to stand out with something very positive and perhaps very unique.
Yeah, Jenny, you mentioned the brand, the Taco Bell Cantina, but we also have Whataburger that's done a brand wedding. We have Hellmann's that recently did one. I think we should kind of dive into what a Hellmann's wedding even looks like.
Yeah, but before we dive into what that looks like, if you guys could automate one thing out of your life, what would it be?
Probably folding all my towels into swans. Oh my gosh.
Oh, crazy and specific, but okay. Anyway, marketers, listen up, because you can automate busy work away with Active Campaign. Their autonomous marketing platform helps cut out the tedious parts for you, like building your email and SMS campaigns, optimizing them based on billions of data points, and summing up the results with clear next steps, not endless reports.
That way you can spend more time on strategy and less time on marketing admin. Active Campaign's specialized AI agents can extend your team and handle all that operational work so you can get your message out there in minutes, not weeks.
Plus, align your message across every channel instead of losing things through the endless game of office telephone. Take all that work off your back when you go to activecampaign.com. That's activecampaign.com. All right, let's set the scene. What does a mayo wedding look like?
Okay, I'm glad you brought this up. So this was earlier this year. Hellmann's ran a wedding giveaway contest, and there was a sauce-loving couple that won the giveaway. This is what it included. It included a Vegas wedding held at Viva Las Vegas Wedding Chapel, I think famously known for Elvis weddings, primarily. Hellmann's supplied flowers and cake. These were brand appropriate colors. I believe the cake was made with mayo as one of the ingredients, which made it very moist.
Oh, I don't know how I feel about
Okay,
that.
people always think it's weird in desserts, but actually, as someone who's from the Chicago area, Portillo's is a famous like fast food chain, and they put mayo in their cake, which they turn into a milkshake, and it's very good. So
wow, I was not expecting the addition
I'm also
of
Midwestern. I've never heard of this in my life.
Oh my God, a chocolate cake shake that mayo is the secret ingredient.
I knew sour cream. I did not know mayo could be a soft.
Okay, hang on. We're getting off track.
Right. Sorry.
Okay, so a mayo wedding, no cake shakes, I don't believe, but there was a cake, there were flowers, there were a lot of chicken tenders, I believe, with different sauces. You could try them. The chicken tender tower was provided by Hellmann's. It was 4 feet tall. Manny Mayo is the mascot of Hellmann's. He is a 7 foot tall mayonnaise container with eyeballs, and he served as the officiant of this wedding.
With eyeballs is so important because it really adds
I
to
do
the
think
image.
it's important.
What do we think the ordainment process looked like for Manny? I mean,
I imagine he logged on to the internet like so many people do these days, just in the mayo outfit, and was like, how do I get ordained?
1 hour or less ordained.
And yes, this was a legal wedding. So this couple got legally married here. So the bride, her name is Heather Schroering, and she's also a reporter and a podcast producer. And she wrote about this experience for Bon Appetit magazine and shared a lot of these details. I think this was in line with Hellmann's was putting out a bunch of new dips and sauces. And so this very much sort of aligned with them. The couple, they love dips. And then they had this promotion. At the end of the ceremony, Manny Mayo uttered, "You may dip the bride."
Gorgeous.
So extremely, extremely on brand.
I mean, I'm sure that's like what everyone was saying throughout the entire event, right? It's like, oh, like every piece of this is on brand, which is like a key part of what a brand wedding is. The other key part that you brought up, part of the Mayo wedding, is that it was a contest, which I think is interesting because one of the other like big branded weddings that people might know about is the Taco Bell wedding. There is a Cantina Chapel in Vegas as well. And that actually started as a giveaway contest as well. I think it was called Love and Tacos, giving like one couple the chance to get married inside this chapel when it was like newer to the scene, got more than 150 entries at the time. A lot of people were interested, but now it's a mainstay and people can literally choose to get married at the Taco Bell Cantina Chapel whenever they want. There's a whole wedding package that includes like various Taco Bell merch, but specifically they also get like wedding items that have been turned into Taco Bell branded moments, like a hot sauce packet bouquet, a wedding garter and bow tie with a little sauce packet pattern on them. So it's like you're still getting the wedding experience, but like every piece of it will feature the brand that you have chosen to turn your wedding over to.
Do you think they have to include Liv Moss in the vows?
Absolutely.
I'm not sure if that's contractually obligated, but it feels like it would be natural. I feel like if you were a couple who has sort of self-selected into this, it might be kind of part of this. But why do we feel like a brand would want to sponsor a wedding? What are sort of the pros here?
Yeah. Well, we talked about how weddings are so expensive. I think Zola predicts that couples will spend an average of $36,000 on weddings this year. And when a brand steps in and kind of like takes that burden off of someone, that makes you look good. Obviously, people are worried about what they're spending about, and weddings are big, high-cost events. And when you get to step in as a brand and be like, look, we're doing this great thing for one of our customers, you kind of look like a superhero.
I think one of the friends of the Hellmann's couple wrote in the Wall Street Journal, she was like, yeah, that was a huge, I mean, in addition to this being very on brand for the couple, their like submission video was them taking a chicken tender and putting an onion ring on the finger. Like this was clearly like right up their alley, but in addition to that, like the friend was like, weddings are very unaffordable nowadays. Like that was a driving factor for them to submit themselves, and Hellmann's took over.
Yeah, and they're not the only ones too. I think there was a research study from Talker about how many people would actually let a brand step in and sponsor their wedding, and it's 6 in 10 Americans that they would let a brand sponsor their wedding if they covered at least 65% of expenses. Kelsey, you have planned a wedding.
I have.
How would you feel about a brand coming in and taking some of that cost off of your shoulders?
Here's the thing. I think this is such an American conversation that we're having right
Brutally capitalistic.
It really
Also hyper specific to Vegas, I feel
Yes,
too.
yeah.
Like
Yes.
that's an important thing to note is how many of these are Vegas centric.
And I think, one of the things that we talk about when we talk about brand marketing is like providing value. Mm-hmm. And this is obviously that to an extreme because they're not saying, okay, if you buy our mayonnaise, like this will help all of your couples, with this. But I think it's kind of a way to maybe drive that point home for one specific couple. But I think so much of what you get out of this is you get this positive brand sense. It's sort of bananas to do it, but everybody loves a wedding. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I do think that for the couples, like the goodwill is obviously there, but for the brand, they're not there just to win over 2 people or the 60 odd guests or whatever. They're there to stand out. And I think associating with yourself in this sort of kooky moment. Everybody loves a wedding, but maybe you don't normally go to a wedding where a mascot is serving as the officiant. And so it's not just standing out with the couple and the family and friends. You're standing out on the internet at the end of the day.
It kind of alleviates a burden for the couple too. Like if by Hellmann stepping in and being like, we're going to provide you with all of the cake and the attire and all of the stuff and the officiant, like it takes the planning burden off of them. They don't have to do any of that stuff. So if you're someone who wants to get married and have a big wedding, but you don't want to pay for it, you don't want to plan it, here's a brand for you.
Right. Well, and I think that's the thing. So many couples who have planned big weddings, I've planned a wedding, as you mentioned. At the end, people are just asking you questions. They're like, do you want a white tablecloth or a cream one? I'm like, I literally could not care less.
Literally, like the last thing you want to
I have made so many decisions. Whatever one everybody else says, I literally don't care. So I feel like this is such a funny kind of way of taking that up a notch. You know what I mean?
I haven't planned a wedding myself, but I am in an era of my life where I get a lot of wedding content on my For You page. And it's honestly, a lot of times it's brides like talking about their planning. And even just watching that overwhelms me. So I totally see the appeal of a brand coming in and just like taking that off your shoulders. But I don't know. It also like a wedding is so personal, you know? Once you like cede that over to a brand, like the Hellmann's wedding, the color palette was selected, the food was selected, everything was kind of like laid out for them, which some people may really like and some people might not like as much.
Right. And it has to be brand safe. It has to be brand appropriate. And again, for some couples, that maybe makes a lot of sense. I think that it's a really interesting fine line for a brand because if you do want to get involved in this, it's such a peak moment, peak emotional moment for people. But like you said, it is really personal. And Christina Manlas is one of our senior reporters, and she talked to a couple different brands who have done brand weddings. And one of the things that kind of came up in her interviews was that there is this effort to try to customize it and make it personal because I think that for a brand, you want to win that positive sentiment, but you don't want to be seen as it. Again, we were talking about this ruthless capitalistic drive here. You're saying, oh my gosh, a wedding is so expensive. I'm just going to give it over to a brand. But if you're a brand, you don't want to be so controlling.
You don't look like you're commodifying someone's like special day.
Yeah.
Right, because you are. At the end of the day, if a brand is doing that, that is what is happening.
Yeah.
But doing it in a way that feels good for the people who are involved, there has to be a level of, these people are not just,
Yeah. I think that speaks to like, you have to kind of partner with the right couple as well. Like the Mayo Hellmann's wedding in particular, we keep going back to it because unfortunately it is just, there's so much fodder there. But that specific couple, like they were a sauce-loving couple. They were one that said that they weren't that interested in throwing like a really big wedding before this opportunity kind of presented itself. So it's like when a brand enters that specific type of wedding, it's not like they're coming in and being like, oh, like you couldn't afford this, we'll help you afford it, but only if you do things exactly the way that we want to do it. It was like they didn't actually care all that much, and it became like a fun little opportunity for everyone involved.
That would actually open up like some brand risk. If you did just work with a couple that was just like tight on cash, they probably would not be super thrilled in the photos, and you probably would get the sense that they're like, we're just doing this out of necessity. We don't actually love this brand. So I think that's why the contest aspect's important, because it's like, who here really wants this? And you kind of like filter through like the video of the chicken tender with the onion ring and see like, oh, this is a quirky couple, this fits.
Yeah, you self-select. And then again, I think we get back to the whole idea of the content creation that comes out of this. So in a lot of these instances, the brand maybe has selected the photographer, the videographer. And I do think that in a lot of these arrangements, there is an agreement that these photos and videos will be disseminated, not just to your wedding photo album or to your personal Instagram, but far and wide. So finding a couple that is sort of embodies brand love, now you have, the brand has the power to sort of disseminate that and share this story. And I think that's what Taco Bell did when they did their first giveaway back in 2017, was combing through all of these submissions and trying to find couples who genuinely do love that and want a Baja Blast cocktail or to sip on in their wedding, wedding attire.
I maybe would consider that, actually. I love a Baja Blast.
I think it's so interesting that a lot of the brands that have done this are primarily really food brands.
Yes.
And I wonder, I think about that. So we've had Taco Bell, Whataburger, Hellmann's. These are all food adjacent, and weddings are nothing without the food, right? That's kind of the whole reason you, as a guest, you want to go. And so I feel like that's a very natural way to do it. But we've also seen there's a B2B brand, Ramp, and they recently did an activation with the person who plays Kevin from The Office, sort of in a cube all day, and they do it's a software company, but they had him officiate a wedding in this experiential activation too. So it's not just food brands that are kind of dipping their toes in here and trying to figure out what it is about a wedding.
Yeah, I feel like that's actually key because it's like, yes, in some ways food brands like kind of make sense, but when you look at the specific food brands, Taco Bell, Hellmann's Mayo, like they're not like elevated wedding food brands, you know? It's like, even though they're a food brand, it's kind of surprising that they would like want to throw a wedding, and Ramp, especially having like really nothing to do with the wedding experience, throwing a wedding is really surprising. And I think that's kind of key to like how and when a brand does get involved in something like this, is like you need that surprise element. You need that like, what on earth is like Taco Bell doing throwing a wedding? What on earth is like a B2B services company throwing a wedding? Because it does draw way more eyeballs that way, because there's that like inherent curiosity factor of like, what, like we would never think that this would happen. But like the more that happens, the more I feel like the bar is just gonna raise, because okay, now we've had all of like the fast food brands do it, now we've had a random B2B company do it. Like what kind of company is left out there that would be like so surprising to throw a wedding that it would be worth it to be like, oh, like people are going to pay attention to this?
I think it's worth pointing out that like other like elevated brands do often sponsor weddings, but it's for celebrities and influencers. Like with Becca Bloom, she's like an influencer that got married over the summer. There were a lot of brand opportunities. Like Lancome did her makeup on her wedding day. We saw like Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker had their wedding sponsored by Dolce & Gabbana. Like this is something that I think is kind of like reaching the masses through like this social media centric type of wedding, it feels. But I think that's also kind of the draw for some of these people who apply to it, is they're like, I want to feel like a celebrity. I want to feel like an influencer for a day. And this gives them that opportunity to kind of get their wedding pushed out there to the masses.
Yeah,
Right.
we've definitely like seen that happen before too, with like brand trips, whether wedding related or not. There's been kind of a little bit of like a discourse on social media about like, instead of taking influencers on brand trips, let's take regular customers and real people on brand trips. And anytime you can kind of involve the regular person, there does seem to be just like positive sentiment that follows, because everyone's like, oh, like this brand cares about little old me, like not just influencers. And maybe that's what this is like these types of brands that are not luxury brands are like, you know what, we are going to give back to the regular old person who has a wedding that like will really appreciate it, because they are not an influencer who gets stuff like this all the time.
Yeah, and I think that you're right that is really well received. So Christina spoke with Hellmann's, and the content from the Hellmann's wedding generated 2 billion impressions and 270 earned media placements. So we talked about Bon Appetit and the Wall Street Journal where this was covered, but it was covered widely. The sentiment from all of that content was 95% positive, they told Christina. So I think that's such a good metric of looking at that and saying, okay, this does seem to perform really well. I think something that's really funny about these food brands getting involved too is sort of at the end of every wedding, you kind of go from the fancy food, the fancy seated dinner, to now you've been dancing and you've had a couple cocktails or more than a couple cocktails, and then everybody's getting the finger food at the end of the night. And so it's sort of like, it's almost sort of showing up early for some of these brands, right? You're going to get Taco Bell at the end of the night anyway. Why not do it at the beginning?
Yeah.
You know?
I think one thing that I want to discuss too is the fact that like it's not just weddings that brands are getting more and more involved in. It's also the stuff leading up to weddings too. Like the Wall Street Journal had a really great article about how bachelorette parties are becoming increasingly sponsored, people planning them. I mean, there's like a whole subset of TikTok and Instagram content that's like how to get brands to send you free PR for your bachelorette party. And it's become its whole little like mini industry within the social media landscape. And brands are getting inundated now, being asked to send free products, which to some is worth it. I think when this first started as a trend, it was like, hey, why not? Like Goodwill, you know, they're going to post about the brand. We're going to get in front of some new eyeballs, maybe find some new customers. But in this article that the Wall Street Journal put out, some small brands are like, we're getting like automated emails from people who clearly don't even know what our brand is. Like there was like a nut butter company that was like, we're getting people say, we love your lotion. And like, we don't sell that.
That's
and
just not what nut butter is.
it's like a whole thing. Yeah. Like I think so many people now, like to the point earlier about like, they want to be an influencer. They want to be a celebrity. They think they can just get free things from brands. And like, I don't know, brands have to like toe the line, I think, of like how much they engage with that stuff.
I remember this is years ago, but people sending wedding invitations to brands. This used to be a thing. I think it's still probably still a thing, but maybe less popular. One of the things you find out when you're planning a wedding is stationery is expensive. I was not about to send an invite to Chick-fil-A and hope that they sent me a coupon because that was going to cost extra money. But that is something that has sort of become part of the wedding experience, is sort of the reaching out to the brands and trying to figure out how to get them involved. And I think it's very possible that this will just exacerbate as the cost of weddings continues. And again, as brands try to figure out, how do I actually stand out? Because a regular social campaign is just not cutting it. You know, what is that thing that will make somebody stop? And I don't know about you, but I always stop to look at a wedding photo or wedding photos on my Instagram feed. You know, there is something that is really positive about it just because it's fun.
The glitz and glam of it just like catches your eye. So like, of course, like a brand who wants to get in on that is interested in it. I think though, like what we're talking about with the bachelorette parties and weddings as a whole kind of speaks to something though that like brands should maybe be wary about, is like the more they get involved with these like big personal events, like there is a chance that people are just going to think it's like kind of sad that people can't afford a wedding unless they're getting brands involved, right? Like the fact that like people are dedicating so much time to reaching out to brands to like bring down the cost. It's like, yeah, that's smart on you as a consumer or as a regular person. But like the more brands associate themselves with it, I wonder if there's like a chance that people are like, ooh, like, wow, even weddings aren't safe now. Everything is a branded moment. Everything is like, you have to let corporate capitalism in order to even just have it.
Which is nothing sacred anymore.
Literally.
Right. I do feel like the feeling of commodifying what many people feel like is an extremely important day in their life can feel very cynical. And I think that's something that brands should be thinking about if they are either already doing this or thinking what's the way to get involved. I think that for certain brands, there's an opportunity to stand out with maybe the right couple or the right, bride maybe who's reaching out for a bachelorette trip or something like that. But I do think that it's a careful line to walk, because I think you're totally right, Jenna. There's this chance where somebody looks at that and goes, that doesn't actually make me feel good about that brand that's involved.
Yeah, it's like, it's a wedding. Like we couldn't leave that one alone. But again, there are couples out there that love it and friends out there, like the guests that love it. Because I think that's the other piece that you think about as a couple throwing a major event like a wedding is like, it's an event for you, but it's also an event for all the people that come. And maybe you love sauces or chicken or whatever it is, but like, are all the people that come, are they going to like it? Are they going to post positively about it? Are they going to feel really good about a branded wedding at the end of the day? You can't control what everyone thinks, but I'm sure it's something that like couples think about because you want to throw a good event.
Maybe your whole friend and family, they all love Crunchwrap Supremes, and this is you doing them a favor.
Exactly. Like Kelsey said, you're probably going to get it at the end of the night anyways at the after party. So,
that's right.
Well, I have to ask you guys, if you were to have a branded wedding and a brand mascot was going to officiate your wedding, which one would it be? Everyone think.
I'm Gritty from the Philadelphia Flyers.
You're
Can you
not
imagine?
even from Philly.
No, but I feel
His impact goes far beyond Philly.
He is really, truly a national mascot.
I'm going to go with the Pop-Tart that got sacrificed.
Yes.
Specifically coming out of the toaster.
Yep.
and conducting the ceremony.
Feels almost religious.
Yes.
There's some
iconography
drama.
and
There's some
associated
magic
there.
in
Yeah.
Yes, totally. I personally am in love with Ellie, the elephant, who is the Liberty's mascot, because she is a diva at the end of the day. She
Absolutely.
also has brand deals herself. She would show up in a good outfit. She would have a manicure. I think she would actually do a really good job.
She might upstage the bride.
That's so true, and that is something I
You
will
have to be
consider.
careful.
Yeah. So true. Well, thanks so much for joining us today. And if you have a dream brand that you would want to sponsor your wedding, please email us at mkbw@morningbrew.com, which you can also find in the show notes. Can't wait to hang out again next week.